Hi everyone, this is Phil from Gaming, and today I'm going to show you my guide to the Ferox in ARK Genesis. The Ferox is the coked-out little gremlin of ARK Genesis. It is an absolutely adorable shoulder-mounted pet, and it is one of the hardest to find in the game. That's because it is very small, it is very light in color, and it only spawns in a snowstorm. If you do plan on capturing a Ferox, I highly recommend bringing a Bloodstalker with you because it has the ability of highlighting small creatures, and as you can see, it makes it stand out from the snow rather nicely. This Ferox was located at 75 latitude by 44 longitude, and as you can see, it's sort of in the eastern section of the snow biome. When you do spot a Ferox, be very careful of your surroundings because there are more than likely a whole lot of dire wolves around, and they will make short work of a Bloodstalker, especially if they are in a pack. There was a second Ferox that I found at 78 latitude by 43 longitude. This one came complete with a Ute that I had to kill, so that was fun. I highly recommend that you clear out any hostile mob before starting a Ferox tame. To tame the Ferox, you're going to need some element, and you're going to place it into the 10th slot of your hotbar. When you use it when you're near the Ferox will eat it, and then it will transform into the large version of itself, which is very, very hostile. I recommend bringing a grappling hook with you, and immediately after feeding it, going to a higher elevation. The Ferox won't be able to attack you as long as you are elevated high enough, and after about 20 or 30 seconds, it will return to its regular size, and then you can feed it again, and after that, it's essentially just rinse-repeat for 2 or 3 more cycles. Other strategies to tame a Ferox would be to build a structure that you could hide in during the rage, or to trap the Ferox in during the rage. Though, since they're very, very hard to find, I find this method to be far more easy and reliable. And eventually, after it's raged for its last time, you will have tamed your very own Ferox. The nice thing about Feroxes is, of course, right after you tame it, you can put it right on your shoulder, and it'll do a happy little dance for you, which is just adorable. Once you have your very own Ferox on your shoulder, to get it off your shoulder, simply double tap F by default on PC, and you will throw it a distance in front of you. And it'll probably do a cute animation like that. The shoulder-mounted Ferox is also an insulator. It improves both hyper and hypothermal insulation, so you can see the numbers right there without it. And when I put it on my shoulder, you can see that the numbers are far improved. It's also important to note that there's a little icon on the bottom right that will also show you that you're getting an insulation buff. You can, of course, transform the Ferox back into the large creature that you saw earlier during the tame. In order to do that, you do the same thing that you did earlier, which is feed it element. In this case, it required 2 element to feed, and once you've done that, it will transform into what I can only describe as a cross between Gremlins and the Werewolf of London. Does that date me? I think that dates me. You don't require a saddle to ride a Ferox. Instead, you mount it on its shoulders, and there's a certain symmetry to that I enjoy. The Ferox has several different attacks. The first one, which is left-click by default on PC, is a fairly standard single-target swipe attack. This attack is fairly quick, and it does a moderate amount of damage. The second attack, which is right-click by default on PC, is a ground pound, which does moderate damage to a small area in front of the Ferox. The third attack, which is C by default on PC, is a boulder throw attack, and it has about a 3-second cooldown between it, and it does a fair amount of damage. The Ferox also has a mobility skill similar to that of the Deinonychus. The Ferox can jump onto any vertical surface, and as long as you're spamming jump, you will be able to climb in the direction that you're pointing with your camera. The Ferox also doesn't seem to suffer from any fall damage. Once it gets to a certain speed, it just sort of stops speeding up any faster, and it lands very, very softly. The Ferox will not stay in its enlarged form indefinitely. It needs to be maintained by feeding it additional element. You will also notice that when you feed it element, there's a second bar underneath it called addiction. The higher the addiction level, the higher the attack damage, attack speed, the resistance, and the shorter the lifetime of the transformation. This goes all the way up to 100%. As you can see, at 100%, you end up with 200% increased damage and 50% increased attack speed. You might think that going right to 100% will cause the Ferox to freak out, but no, just seems pretty jittery, honestly. Once it's at the end of its transformation lifetime, the Ferox will revert back to its smaller form, and in order to transform it back to the larger form, it will require an additional cost of element dependent on the amount of addiction it has.
Do you know any other tips about the Ferox? Tell us what they are in the comments below. If you found this video useful, please feel free to leave a like and a comment, and also subscribe to the channel. And as always, have fun out there. Also, Dad, that thing's terrifying.